Good morning, everyone. We're getting a little bit of a late start, but we're starting nonetheless. Mute your phones if you would. And we'll lead off with the invocation from Commissioner Dale, followed by pledge. Commissioner Yarborough will do that. You're welcome to join us in either or both.
Shall we bow our heads? Eternal God, our Father, we come to you as humble as we know how, acknowledging and honoring you as creator, supreme ruler, and orchestrator of life. Lord, we ask that you be with us in this meeting as we go about conducting county business. Lord, we ask that you grant us the wisdom, the knowledge, and all things necessary to do your will here on earth. Lord, we thank you for your grace and your blessings. We ask that you forgive our sins and create in us a clean heart and renew us in the right spirit. Thank you for your son, Jesus, for dying on the cross for our sins and rising on the third day. Lord, we honor you today, and we all give glory to your name. In these and all blessings, we ask in your son, Jesus' name, for his sake, amen.
Amen. Would you join me, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you both. There we go. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Bell,
Here.
Hurd,
Here.
Freely,
Present.
Harrison,
Here.
Hinkleman,
Here.
Najeri,
Here.
Meeks,
Here.
Scott,
Here.
Walrath,
Here.
Werfel,
Here.
Yarborough, Elliott.
Here. Thank you. Minutes from a week ago need to be approved if anyone wants to get that going.
So moved.
Moved by Scott, supported by Volrath. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Madam Clerk, have we communications?
Yes, received two different emails, both dated January 2nd, 2022, from Rich McCoy of Stevensville, inquired about COVID guidance issued to Lakeshore School Superintendent. Third communication is Lydia Dutton of St. Joseph, email received January 12th, 2022, regarding grant opportunities for air quality programs. That's all.
All right, thank you. Want to go right into the presentation?
Yeah,
Okay.
Marcy's
It's here. Hi, Marcy. Marcy Hamilton is with us. The last time we saw her, I think we were doing a night meeting down on Red Arrow Highway. And it was warm enough that we needed a bunch of big fans running in that fire station. Kind of wish it was that warm again. But Marcy, we're happy to hear from you about Bering County Trails and anything else on your list.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for having me today. And hit the button.
Thank you. There you go.
It's on. Okay. All right. Thanks for having me today. And just wanted to give you a little update on what's going on with trails in Bering County. Lots of exciting stuff happening. As most of you know, I work for the Southwest Michigan Planning Commission. I'm also an advisor to the newly formed nonprofit Friends of Bering County Trails. So when we talk about trails, I'm taking a holistic view of trails, not only for biking and hiking, but also for canoes and kayaks, water trails, and also trails within parks, hiking, cross-country skiing, mountain biking. Fat tire biking is kind of a new thing that you hear a lot about now. So lots of different trails options here in Bering County. Just real quick, why folks are investing in trails across the nation and across Michigan. They retain and attract businesses and residents. Whirlpool is coming on board with trails because they've, realized the importance of that in terms of attracting people to the area. They can increase real estate values, promotes obviously tourism, brings people to the area, increases tax revenues. Of course, there's the healthy aspect of getting outside and being in nature and exercising. Another big thing is improving safety. That's a big push for especially getting, what did I do? Okay. Getting people off the roads and onto a separated path or someplace that's safer for them to be, and reduce those crashes that we see between vehicles and pedestrians or bike riders. And of course, the environmental benefits. And just some numbers, there's quite a few households in Bering County that don't own a vehicle. So they either rely on walking or biking or public transit. And then these are just some safety related numbers about the number of crashes with pedestrians and bicyclists and how many serious injuries that happen on average. So again, safety is a big deal to do these things. Our agency covers 3 counties. That's why I've got Cass and Van Buren on there, along with Berrien. But right now, back in 2019, I don't think too much has happened in the last 2 years. These numbers might have gone up a little bit, but they're still pretty accurate. Off-road facilities, so like a shared use, multi-use path that's not part of the road. Bering County has about 22 miles of those types of facilities. And on-road facilities like a bike lane or a paved shoulder, we have about 90 miles of our roads have those facilities on road to at least separate folks from the traffic a little bit. So overall in the state of Michigan, the Southwest Michigan corner doesn't have as much as some other parts of the state, but we're working on that and trying to increase the number of trails in our communities here. The major existing trail systems that we have, as you mentioned, the Red Arrow Linear Park that went into Union Pier, and they just completed another segment up in Harbert. And so, of course, we're trying to connect that all the way along Red Arrow Highway. The Indiana-Michigan River Valley Trail down in Niles, which connects all the way to Mishawaka. Buchanan, if you have not been to Buchanan and been on the McCoy Creek Trail, it's amazing. It goes through the whole entire city. It's absolutely beautiful, follows the creek, which is a little trout stream. It's gorgeous. The trails, most of you know about the ones in Harbor Shores. Now, Whirlpool and Harbor Shores are working to make even more of the trails and golf cart paths open to the public, so there'll even be more there. Right here in St. Joe, the John and Dee Dee Howard Recreational Trail. And around Watervliet, Coloma, around Pawpaw Lake, there's a trail system. So those are major systems. And we're working to expand those. Some of the biggest projects we're working on right now is the Marquette Greenway, trying to connect Chicago to New Buffalo. Like I mentioned, completing that Red Arrow Linear Park from US 12 to Bridgman and all the way up to St. Joe ultimately. We're working to extend the trail from Niles to Berrien Springs, and again, ultimately up here to St. Joe. Buchanan is working right now to extend their trail east over to Niles. They just got funding committed from MDOT to do the first piece of that. Benton Harbor has been actively working on an Ox Creek Trail that will follow Ox Creek and connect the Arts District in downtown Benton Harbor out to the Orchards Mall area. So that would be great. Hickory Creek, there's a lot of talk about putting at least a hiking trail along Hickory Creek, which would be awesome. And then, of course, I think most of you know, Whirlpool is working on a trail connecting St. Joe Benton Harbor up to their campus along M63. And they're also doing mountain bike trails on their campus. So, water trails, those are becoming very popular. And we have lots of rivers. And obviously we have several miles of Lake Michigan shoreline, which in itself is a water trail along that coast. So we have St. Joe, the Dowagiac, the Pawpaw, the Galeen, and also Hickory Creek are water trails that people enjoy with canoes and kayaks. So Friends of Bering County Trails, I mentioned, is a newly formed nonprofit, and they've come at a really good time. We really need kind of this ground up advocacy And we need a group to help with fundraising to build these trails and continue the maintenance of them. So having this new nonprofit is really beneficial for the county, and they'll be a great partner as we move forward in these projects. If you haven't checked it out, they do have a website, beringtrails.org. I encourage you to take a look. Their biggest endeavor right now is a master plan for trails in Bering County, addressing all those different trail types that I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. And so they want to promote connecting these trails, again, the safety aspect for people, improving economic and recreational amenities in our communities. So this is a big project, and we just kicked it off in December. And what's really cool about this is all the communities and the private partners have contributed funds to this countywide master plan for trails. So that is really exciting to have that much participation from throughout the county to move this initiative forward. So the groundswell of support is pretty phenomenal. So what's happened so far? The Friends of Bering County Trails hired a consultant to develop this plan over the next 6 to 8 months. We held our first steering committee meeting. Julie was there from the county. You can see her in the picture there. That was held in December last year. So that was our kickoff meeting. Lots of great folks. We had great energy and lots of good discussion that first meeting. We're right now kind of in the data collection stage where we're going to be reaching out to every municipality in the county to get any information you have on trails in your community that we might not have. So, but then the next step that's coming up here in the next month is public engagement. And this is a big, big piece of what we're trying to do is get input from the public. So you'll see a link to a survey, an online survey. It's going out on me. We're going to be doing stakeholder interviews. We're also, depending on the COVID situation, going to try to do some community meetings. So I will keep you all informed about those opportunities, and hopefully you guys can help us get the word out to county residents about those opportunities. We hope to complete the plan later this summer. And the biggest task after that is we're going to try to get a resolution of support from every municipality in the county to saying they support this county plan and will help work towards this vision of trails in the county. So that'll be a big task. Only had before is with the hazard mitigation plan. And we did it. It took time and it wasn't easy, but we got every single municipality to participate. So we're hoping for the same level of participation once we get this plan done, so that we can all work together, collaborate to get these trails built in our community for our residents and our visitors. So that's all I had for you today about what's going on. If there's any questions, yeah, Jim.
Was that Jill Adams in the picture? Is she on that committee?
She is, yes.
Do we have any other staff? Julie worked with the commissioner.
Yeah.
Any other staff?
Kevin Stack from the road department.
Who?
Kevin Stack.
Oh, Kevin, okay.
Don't we have
Kevin,
someone
Jill.
from community development also?
Yeah, Katie.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
Katie Montoya. So yeah, Green County and then Julie.
The municipalities that you had listed, you said they're contributors to this group, and there's some missing that I noticed, are they because they haven't been notified if they're turning it down, or?
We have reached out to all of them, at least by email, and sometimes a phone call. They either haven't, brought it up as a priority, or, they may choose not to participate financially, but we hope we're going to try, even if they don't participate financially, to involve them in the planning process.
Commissioner Yarborough, then Commissioner Scott.
Thank you. Thank you, Marcy. I consider you our trail water expert. I did not see the city of Benton Harbor's name up there. And you say a contribution. You did not say how much. Did you say to us how much they're expected to put in or what?
There is no expectation. The contributions have been anywhere from $500 to $5,000.
Mhm.
And everything in between is the level of contribution from the communities that have participated.
Tell me why the city of Benton Harbor is not there. Why do you think it? Or you don't want to say,
No, I don't know.
but they know.
Everybody's been notified, at least through email and some with phone calls. So, and that's pretty typical for, not to get 100% participation on the financial side.
First request, there hasn't
Yeah.
been any follows up or saying, hey, we get sent this to you a month ago, are you interested, or you're just not forgot about it or something?
I'm not, Gary Wood, who's the president of the Friends Group, he's the one doing those emails, so I'm not sure if there's been a follow-up or not, but I'll ask him, and if he hasn't, I'll suggest that.
Because you have Ox Creek up there, and
Yes.
that's where does it start in the city of Benton Harbor?
Oh, yes, that, and the city has been very actively, in fact, we just had a meeting yesterday about it with the city manager and assistant city manager and myself and a few other folks who are trying to figure out how to build that and how to fund it. And Avonmarsh is working on a plan right now to.
Okay,
concept-
so they're in it somewhere, how?
They're working on trails for sure.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
I guess I have a question. The previous board had voted before, when trails came up, on not using any county funding until the trails plan and the master plan was put together. And also, I believe there was a stipulation in there that you were to apply for grants for this. So I guess my question is, on the expansion of all the trails, how many grants have you guys applied for? And for what areas have you applied for those grants? Or if you haven't applied for the grants, is it because you need the support of the communities before you can apply for those grants?
Several grants have been applied for Marquette Greenway, from the McCoy Creek. I mentioned both of those projects have commitments from MDOT. Marquette Greenway has 2 grants awarded from DNR. Buchanan's getting ready to apply for DNR for the McCoy Creek one. M63, I think applications will be going into for the spring for that one. The Indiana Michigan River Valley Trail, we've got grant money from Be Healthy Bering to try to advance that one. And we got to get some more planning money before we can apply for construction grants. So that's kind of always the challenge. It's hard to get the money to do the preliminary engineering and cost estimates because folks don't want to fund that. The grantors don't want to fund that. They want to fund construction. So there's always kind of this, we got to figure out locally how we can fund the project enough to get it to the point where we can apply for a grant. We're getting ready to apply for Red Arrow Highway. Yeah, we got a grant from USDA Rural Development to pay, and that is paying for engineering work right now. That's going on. And as soon as that gets to a point, then we'll be applying to MDOT and maybe DNR for the completion of the Red Arrow Linear Park. So Ox Creek Trail, we're still in the discussions of where they're looking at MDOT probably. I mean, it hasn't happened yet, but that'll be coming soon. So pretty much on all of these, there are grants awarded and being applied for.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Marcy, on your fundraising for the master plan, how close are you to having all the money that you need?
We're in really good shape right now with the money that we have to pay for the current services that we've scoped out. There's other things we would like to do, especially once the plan is done in terms of rolling it out and publicity and getting that done. So we're still seeking some additional funds to help with some of those other activities. So, but for just the basic scope of getting the plan done, we have enough money for that. And thank you for your help.
Julie,
In the original meeting, we also talked about equestrian trails. Is that
Yes.
still a part of the scope?
It is. We just don't have any that I know of publicly available equestrian trails in Bering County right now. I did learn though that if you're aware that DNR, there was grant money just awarded this last round to buy that big area outside of Bering Springs. And there's already talk about that would be a great place for equestrian trails. So that will definitely get into our plan as a future for equestrian trails. So yes.
Back.
What the area outside Andrews?
It was Andrews University property that the DNR is buying as kind of, I don't know if it's gonna be a state, I don't think it's gonna be a game area. I don't remember the designation it's gonna be, but it'll be a DNR owned property and it's, gosh, how many acres? It's several hundred acres. It's really large.
Mac,
yes, sir.
I just wanted to make a point. Since we are so close, I am so close to the state line down there. I just wanted to let you know there are equestrian trails in my neighborhood because they come out of Michiana Shores, Indiana from the stables and they traverse into my neighborhood. So I wanted to at least let you know that that is available and
Are they really like designated? I mean, I know people do it, but I don't know if how like.
I don't think you can bring your own horse.
Okay.
I think you have to rent the horse from the
places in
stables.
Indiana,
And then,
yeah.
then the horse has got guided GPS that
Yeah.
goes through and comes, you don't even have to hold on.
And maybe this brings up my water quality side of me is when I was doing water quality testing down there to figure out where the E. coli was coming from, I actually took samples and checked them for DNA, and horse was one of the things that came up as a contributor to the E. coli in the creek down there.
Because they do cross the creek several times in Michigan, I might add.
Yeah, the horses and the deer. There's a lot of deer in that creek. So there's also human waste in the creek, but there's also the deer and the horse. So.
That's the need for trails.
What's that?
That's the need for trails. So there's a designated area.
Yeah. But thank you, yes. But thank you, Ezra. There are the horses down there. But I don't want to advertise that and people try to take their horses down there and they're like, where do we park? Where do we go? Like, they're not fun. Okay.
Members of the board, we get somewhat regular updates from the Friends group. I will continue to push those out in the weekly updates. They do have a website. I'll send out a link to that website as well. And then just as a personal thank you to Marcy, she was scheduled to come in late December. We had a scheduling issue. She agreed to let us bump her to today.
Okay.
She was going to be here at 8:35. I had a feeling that one might not allow for time. So thank you for your flexibility.
No worries.
And then just a quick shout out to Marcy. Over the last few weeks, we've been working with a rural township on a recreation project. This is one that township does not have staff, does not have a lot of horsepower to go after state grants. It took one email and I think a phone call, and Marcy and the team at Southwest Michigan said, yes, we'll help. So I find them to be incredible to work with. Marcy's incredibly responsive, so thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate the time.
Thank
Have a
you.
good one.
We appreciate your dedication to this. Housekeeping detail. Julie, what are you appointed to right now? Or I guess I need to figure out if we formalized the appointment. Because if we did, then we need to add this to the per diem list.
It's not, we were made aware that this was an upcoming meeting. I advertised it to a handful of commissioners. Specifically, I thought that admin would be an appropriate body to engage, and Julie had the misfortune or good luck of being the first to say yes, she would go.
So officially, the group is
It's a
Friends of Bering County Trails.
It's a steering committee that is a short-term thing through the development of the plan.
But it's an NGO, it's a 501c3. Okay, do we have any other board members appointed to non-governmental organizations that are on the per diem list? Can anybody tell me offhand?
I don't know what the makeups of the different committees are, but like Housing Resource Network. All in that category, there's the Services Committee, I don't know that one.
You've got the MAC committee as well.
Yeah, well, Jim, since Julie's on admin, what are your thoughts on authorizing the Friends of Bering County Trails, this non-governmental 501c3 organization, to add that to the list of committees for approved per diem and so forth?
I think they only meet, what, 3 times a year, 4 times a year? They're not, yeah, it's not that frequent, so I think I understand your point, but I would be okay with the per diem.
Not gonna
For Julie.
break the per diem bank.
Yes.
Okay, well, if you, yes, sir.
Yeah, just maybe a point of order here. This Bering County Trails and this Friends of Bering County Trails would be subsidiaries to what the county's strategic plan is now considering. So if we're considering trails as part of our strategic plan, then I think it behooves us to make sure that we do have a representative on a board, committee, whatever, that could report back to us. And that's my only thoughts.
All right, well, I'm deviating a little bit from the agenda. But if I wait till the end of the meeting, I will forget. A balloon will float by or something will distract me, and then that's it. So if you're willing to accept the appointment, we'll add it to the list of approved committees for per diem and mileage purposes. Okay, very good. And with that, I think we're at the point of receiving public comment on resolutions that are on the agenda. And Marcy, you're welcome to stay, but if you're busy, we understand. If you need to cut out, we're always happy to have you. So this is on agenda resolutions. I don't see any added ones, so yes, sir.
Tony Bednar, so there's 1168. Reference Mr. Cook. There's no time limit. There's no wage on there. There's no maximum amount per yearly thing. If he is going to be on there, what's going to happen to their ability to bid out road projects? Kevin is trying to do 2 jobs out there now, and you don't have a licensed engineer out there other than Kevin. Who's gonna do all this engineering work for the summer work? I am glad that it was discussed today in administration that these departments come to their parent committee before they go to finance to ask for money. Simple question, a simple thing. You've got I don't know which one it is, but you're paying $100 and some thousand for 2 pieces of equipment from LECO for the road department. One of those pieces of equipment was picked up back in August of last year. I watched them load it. I watched them unload it because I wondered why a road truck was over LECO's parking lot picking it up. So I followed it back and they went to the road department. So why is it just coming up now that you're paying for it now? I think this road department thing needs to be more transparent. You can't go to one meeting and then go to another meeting at the same time and hear everything that goes on at the road department. I think that's a violation.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else have any comment on agenda resolutions? That'll come a little later. Thanks. Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Moved by Scott. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Majerick. Any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Dow,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Freeling,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Hinkleman,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Meeks,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Borat,
Yes.
Ruffo,
Yes.
Yarborough,
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes. Okay, committee reports, admin, Jim?
Thank you, Matt. This morning we had Kevin Stack from the road department come in and see us. The first thing he wanted to apprise us of was the snow event from last weekend. And I said, what snow event? Down in Niles, we got maybe 2 inches, but apparently Benton Harbor, Coloma, you guys got 20+ inches. So he talked to us about how that was handled and how it went. Everything went really, rather well. He also talked about the costs associated with those events. He said Friday, calling people in, amounted, I think, 40,000. And then on Saturday, to call people in, it was 20,000. So just for that 2-day snow event, yeah, yeah. But he said it went well. He said he's primarily running a lot of those snow plows with temporary staff. We authorized 5 positions for him to fill for snowplow drivers. He's been able to fill 1. He's still got 4 open. So he's doing it with the part-timers to getting the job done. We asked him about the funding that's coming forward from the state and the federal government with the infrastructure package. And there is a workshop coming up sponsored by Debbie Stabenow, where they're going to explain a little bit about the guidelines on how the money can be spent, where it's coming from, where it's going to be put, those type of things. And so Kevin and his staff, I think along with Brian and maybe some administrative staff will be attending that. So they have a good idea. Because we talked about, can it be spent on equipment? Can it be spent on culverts, bridges, those type of things in addition to the roads? And so hopefully this workshop will help explain some of that. We talked about the waiver form a little bit from finance and made it quite clear that there has been somewhat of a disconnect between the road department and the admin committee on purchases, where we have not been seeing those requests prior to them going to finance. So Brian was sitting in on the conversation and acknowledged the fact that, yeah, it should be coming, these requests should be coming through the parent committee before it goes to finance. So I think some of that will be taken care of. So finance, we will see those before you get them. And as far as the waiver went, I understand the intent. If they want the parent committee chairs to sign off on those, that's fine with me. I wouldn't rewrite the whole thing just for that. But we did discuss it, and there will be some changes. And did I miss anything from the road department? Catch everything? Okay. We talked about our 2022 reporting schedule that was provided to us. And we are going to see the road department once a month, like we do with the sheriff's department. Because of the size and because of the things they do, seeing the road department quarterly just wasn't good enough. So we're going to see them once a month. And we requested that all departments who are responsible to the administration committee report to us. And so we have a department added to our reporting schedule who has never been to us before, and that's Motor Pool. So Motor Pool is going to come and see us once. So we approved that. I had a funds distribution form that I signed for the sheriff's department, and it was for the Polar Plunge. And I forgot to do it last week, but I did it today. I appointed Commissioner Volrath as vice chair of the administration committee. And that's our report.
Very good. Thank you. Questions for admin?
Comment, Jim, what was also floated to, because I brought that up in finance about the waivers. It might just be as easy when Jake Lideker sends out the waiver forms to the finance committee, that he just sends them out to all the commissioners, so that way you know what's coming before us on that particular Thursday. Because there are certain things that will happen before pre-notification of a parent committee, such as by the word emergency is exactly what it is. So that's what, that was also suggested, but that'll be something that Brian will have to take care of.
Okay, and our primary concern there was the road department. And I think we've taken care of that. And what I said about the form is, you know, I don't think we have to rewrite the whole thing just because of this. You know, if that works and if that's okay with Brian, that's okay with me.
Any other questions for admin? Okay, let's go to PHS. Bob.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We met this morning also. We had several items of business. First, we approved an advanced step hire for the family division of the courts. This is administrative support for Alvin Gonzalez. It's a replacement person, so actually will be paid less than the person that exited that position. We also approved pension refunds and rollovers. We do that monthly. These are monies being returned or rolled over to accounts for individuals who have left employment of Bering County. Also approved the monthly per diems, and then also approved the Bering County Health Department to send a letter of interest into the state for a telehealth program. The idea is that the state and feds are funding telehealth programs for local health departments. So this is an expression of our interest. And so you can expect to see approval for a grant application to be submitted, and then if funded, at some point, another resolution accepting the grant. This is state and federal money for that. We will have a number of resolutions for you next week relating to lead in the water, some sanitation support, personnel changes for the health department, and then also a contract that's under review by legal counsel. The other item we touched on was the evaluation of the administrator. I've gotten a couple comments and suggestions. If you could have all of yours in by 5 o'clock tomorrow, then I will, take those into advisement. If you send them in at 5:05, you will have missed the boat, and we'll move forward. So I'd like to get that wrapped up. Then we'll move to the evaluation form for 2022. And then we'll also move on to bylaw activity, which I know everyone is with great anticipation to be involved in. So that, gentlemen, does that conclude our business? All right, that would be our report, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Thank you. Questions for PHS? Madam Chair of Finance, you're on.
Thank you very much. I would like to start out with the bid openings, request for proposals with Commissioner Freeling presenting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, we did have 3 bid openings that we reviewed. The first one was for the Parks Department, and it is for our hazardous waste collections, the events that we typically hold throughout the county to collect different household hazards. Also included in that is our clean sweep pesticide collection events that we typically do. So the household hazardous waste collections, we have 5 of those typically scheduled for 2022. That is what we're planning. There are also 2 of the clean sweep pesticide collections that are scheduled for 2022. So we opened 2 of the bids that were received. It was sent out to 3, but we only received 2 in response. What we had done, because it is an itemized per
collection item, whether it is pesticide or mercury or, you know, electronic waste, things like that. What we did is we sent it back to staff to review it and kind of do a comparison between the two, come back to the committee to then give their recommendation based on the numbers that they crunched. So that was the first bid we opened. The other two bids that we had were for the road department. The first was for a 9-ton equipment trailer. This is to haul the skid steers. We have 2 of them within the road department that they're looking to have these trailers purchased to be able to haul. That was sent out to 5 bidders, 1 responded. It was Granville Trailer out of Granville, Michigan, and it was $14,060 per trailer. I'll multiply that by 2. And it falls within the guidelines of what we had budgeted. The other item that we opened, well, we didn't actually open, it was a request for bid on 3/4 ton Ford F-250 pickup trucks. We were seeking a bid for 3 of those. We sent it out to 4 bidders. 0 responded, and I think that just speaks to the fact of what we are seeing throughout the world, and that's the supply chain issues that we're having. And so we sent that back to the department to come back with what their recommendations may be to go forward.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And then we had a resolution, and it was in what you voted for already, but it was approval of weekly bills, which came to $2,561,685.23. A lot of that right now, we're still putting in those blanket bids, things that are for the whole year. Excuse me.
Oh, you're good.
For the whole year. And that's some of that highness of that. And then we had a resolution, and I want to share it with you. It's for January 20th. It will come to you. It's resolution F2201174. And it's approval of farmland lease. And I just want to renew or let the commissioners know and the audience that in 2013, the Bering County Board of Commissioners entered into a lease with Current Farms for the purpose of farming approximately 48.3 acres of land owned by the county at 2393 East Napier in Benton Charter Township. The lease was renewed again in 2019 through December 31st, 2021. Whereas Current Farms would like to continue leasing the 46.83 acres of the parcel per tillable acre for an annual total of $7,024.50. And so what we have done, what we're asking next week for approval, and it came from our committee, totally we agree that the Bering County Board of Commissioners approves the lease agreement with Current Farms for the purpose of farming the 48.3 acres of land owned by the county, and authorizes the county administrator to execute the related lease agreement through December 31st, 2024 for the annual amount of $7,024.50. We approved our minutes, and I'd like to know, are there any other things that we did not do? That is our report. Thank you.
Questions?
Yeah, maybe I have a question on the Napier Avenue property.
Yes.
That contract is a 2-year or 3-year contract?
24.
24.
So that's 22, 23.
Then if, I'm looking at the county administrator.
Yeah.
Juvenile center, if we build it out there, are we gonna be in conflict with that contract? Or can we carve out the acreage to build the building and still let him farm the rest of it? How's that gonna work?
So quite frankly, it's a good question, but it's a very premature question. We have not started site planning. We have not given any thought to building location. But what I will do is with staff, we'll reach out to the farmer to start discussion about if we needed to end this agreement early, what would be our options? If we needed to carve off a portion of the acreage, I think that that's something I'll happily report back to you and to the board on.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
And I realize it might be a little premature, but I'm just trying to look down the road a little bit, just trying to plan ahead.
And please know that Annette is looking
So Thaddeus and Annette are about to walk you all through that you do have a right to terminate the lease agreement. It is my hope that this comment is in no way implying to the farmer that that's something that we would do prematurely or without some forethought.
Yeah, that's
My,
correct.
my thought on that would be very simply that the county wouldn't do that, that farmer, but they would, you know, once the crop cycle is started, be allowed to finish the crop cycle. And then this time of year, if that forward planting takes place.
Yep.
Then that's how it would take.
Yes.
Because it's to December 31st, 2024.
Yeah, and it can be terminated as of December 31st of this, of 2022. So it can be terminated, but only at the start of the calendar year, not in the middle of it.
Is 150 an acre a fair price? Okay.
We talked about that another earlier.
Both ways, both for the county and for the farmer, it's fine.
Okay.
It's where it needs to be.
I think I need to start charging more then. I've got one that's 100 an acre. Okay. Anything else for finance or from finance? Either way.
So I want to read that.
I will go to commissioner reports, start with John and go clockwise.
Thank you. Just wanted to briefly update the board. Yesterday, I attended the Housing Resource Network meeting, and this is a group of different agencies and groups that are interested in housing for those who may be insecure in their housing or homeless, and those services that are provided. And so one of the things that I wanted to bring to the board's attention is every year annually, we are required to do what's called a PIT, or a point in time survey of the number of residents within Bering County who are homeless or unsheltered. And they actually physically go out and do a count. They do a survey. And what the group had talked about is it's January 26th that the date has been selected. And they're looking for volunteers that would be willing to go and do those actual counts in about 9 different regions throughout Bering County. So if anyone is interested, or you know of an organization that works with transient or homeless population that would be well suited to help with this count, please feel free to reach out to me to let me know, and I'll make sure that you get connected with the leadership from the Housing Resource Network to be able to do that count. So that is my report. Thank you.
the meeting of the Human Services Council. These are the leaders from the various nonprofits. A lot of discussion about a number of issues. One that got the most excitement was talking about redistricting statewide and how Bering County is being treated differently than it has in the past. And that could seriously affect their ability to communicate effectively with legislators. And then they focused a lot of attention on my home being in one congressional district, and my mailbox being in another congressional district. So I guess that was important to some people. So that concludes my report.
That truly does put you on the horns of a dilemma.
So all I have to report is I did receive correspondence as well as Commissioner Warfel from one of the board members for St. Joseph Charter Township. Just some responses to the strategic planning questions that were put out by our planning commission. And so I believe more board members will be contributing their thoughts on what we should do regarding ARPA funds and just Bering County strategic planning as a whole. And then I just wanted to give a quick shout out to our road department. They've done an excellent job. I've heard from people within my district as well as all over the Bering County community how well they've done with the snow plowing and things of that nature. So thank you to Kevin Stack and the road department employees.
Just a comment on resolution 168 with the agreement with Cook. the committee did see all the details that went into that, the amount of hours, the daily rate and everything. So it was in the accompanying documentation. That's my report.
Last week, we had our first quarterly LEPC meeting, and a couple of our commissioners apparently couldn't make it. My car didn't start at 7 in the morning, and I had to charge it up and able to get there, but I did make it there by 9 o'clock. And we had a good organizational meeting, and we've only got a few spots, I think, specific to requirements to fill, but we do have a quorum for that group, and that's about it.
No report.
Report. Did have a brownfield meeting this afternoon, but it's been canceled, so that's my only report.
I attended the, one of the most important committee meetings here in the county. I sit on the LRSB, and that's where the tribe gives us money. But that's why I call it very important. This meeting lasted a total of maybe 7 minutes, because there's nothing really to do until September and October, when we absolutely distribute the money. One of the things that did not get taken care of, that has nothing to do with the LRSB, but all of the other communities at large, they have to vote for their representative to sit on the board. And we were in a quandary, because no place in the compact or in the local agreement does it even mention anything about how long that person's term is. And the sad part about it is that they were one person short of a quorum in order to vote that person in. So we have no idea when we're going to get that extra person. It'll probably be the same one. But the other thing is, that was the only meeting I attended. I have the opportunity right now as a commissioner report, and I'd like to talk to all the county commissioners here. I'm afraid of something, and I think we need to get ahead of the game and keep our eye on the ball on this one. But I'm very, very concerned with the children in Bering County. There is a national average that's going on right now that is very concerning, and it has to deal with mental health. Has to do with kids being masked, kids not being able to be in their social environment, kids not being able to be around their peers. As parents, you can say whatever you want to, but parents need a break from their kids, send them to school, and the kids need a break from their parents. So we're seeing a lot of issues that are happening with these children, with this youth in Bering County, as across the nation. And I just want this board to be aware of what could be happening, and we really need to keep our eye on the ball and see if we can do anything proactively to help this situation further on down the line. I don't know what part of Bering County that would be. Is that the health department who monitors that, or is that Riverwood? Is it the sheriff's department? But I do think that we need to keep a very, very, very close eye on our kids here in Bering County. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no report.
I have no report either, so we'll go to the administrator, find out if he has a report.
No comments, sir.
All right, general public comments are now in order. 2 minutes to talk about anything under the sun. Just tell us your name and where you're from, not your street address.
All right, you all might remember me. I only tell you my name is Tracy and I live in Bering County because I've been vandalized several times when I talk. I'm going to try and talk fast. Sorry for how I look. I was watching this online earlier this morning in the middle of I'm in a research project for high-risk oncology for cancer to come back, and I had to end the exercise part of that research project to come and speak. I was so upset that somebody suggested that they are not connecting funding, and one gentleman stood up and disputed that, and that is true. I am down in Bering Springs. We were told by Superintendent Eichberg how our high absentee in our district, and it was presented by two principals, is possibly going to affect our funding because we have so many healthy kids and healthy teachers who are being quarantined, teachers who have to go home because their kids are being quarantined even though they're healthy. And if we get below like 70% attendance, the school or the state this year has said there will be no in-seat waivers for virtual online learning. And so they will start cutting funding. And if they don't cut the funding, they will ask you to add days on at the end of the year, which quite frankly isn't fair for all the kids who are there all year long, that they have to go another week or two if that's how it comes. So the funding is being affected. And this is how we're seeing this all happening everywhere. They're talking about trying to add premiums to people who are unvaccinated. I thought about getting vaccinated. I got COVID. Why should I get vaccinated? But then they're going to make me pay higher premiums for it. All of this is connected to money, and you guys know it. The second thing I want to talk about is the heavy-handed school board things that are going on now. My husband was escorted out by police at a Buchanan school board meeting because we failed to fill out a little form. You all know we've been vandalized several times. The last time was in December. Somebody took a box cutter to our Blue Lives Matter flag on our side of our barn on our property. They had to walk at least 100 feet onto our property to get up to that barn to do it. And they cut it with a box cutter and took it away. Okay? This is ridiculous that these school boards are requiring us to dox ourselves because it goes into the public record.
2 minutes,
It's not fair. It's got to stop, and the prosecutor should do something about it.
Okay. Do you want me to write anything down?
It's right there on that pad.
Oh, okay.
Or some glasses.
Somebody's glasses. Are these yours? All right. Again, I'm Christina. Douglas. I live in Coloma. And earlier I was doing that, so I'm going to do something else now. So studies are showing prior to COVID-19, 2019, pediatric mental health among children and adolescents was a growing concern at 16.5% of children have at least one mental health disorder, with anxiety and depression being the most common. Noted in June 25th, 2021, there was a study done of 2,111 kids, I believe, trying to hurry up. People under the age of 25, the survey showed 83% of people said they had experienced a worsening of their condition during the pandemic. 26% responded that they were not able to access the support services needed. Another survey questioning parents about their children's mental health, and they said 14% reported worsening of underlying disorders during the pandemic. Trying to hurry and skim through this. So we have 2,111 people who took a survey that, I mean, is leaving out the other millions of children and young people who are being affected. And we see this in our schools now. We see the violence popping up, around the country. It's always been there a little bit, but it seems to be getting worse. At this point, it's 2 years later, we've had enough time to have proper studies, and we don't trust our medical establishments anymore. People who want to have the shot are free to do that, and I encourage you, freedom of choice, do what makes you comfortable with your own life. The members of the FDA had the people that have quit or resigned in order, over implementing the injections on children, until they found people who would say that they would do it, is sketchy at best. The medical experts in our field, epidemiologists, cardiologists, Dr. Robert Malone.
2 minutes, ma'am.
Yep.
Thank you, ma'am.
Being canceled and taken off of society is very concerning. We should listen to all medical professionals, not just the ones that,
Thank you very
are
much.
cool.
Does anyone else wish to be heard? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Victory Woodall, Covert Township. I just want to thank you guys for giving that directive to Guy regarding tracking more metrics that actually matter. I appreciate that. Ezra is absolutely right with what he just spoke up about with the mental health of our students. It's a major problem. I've seen it in my own kids. I have 2 high schoolers and a middle schooler. I've seen it. They are affected more than we will ever know by these last 2 years, and it's really sad. Masking contributes, the constant fear mongering contributes. I would like to see you guys give more directives to Guy, like you did earlier in the meeting. I appreciate that. I think that's something that you guys haven't really utilized before, is giving him directives on things that you want him to focus on. and you have that power, and I really appreciate that you're using it finally. Just please don't stop advocating for our kids, especially. They don't have a say in any of this. They have no control over what's going on in this world. I'm not crying. I might cry. Okay, but please just continue advocating for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Chokeway Pittsford, Benton Township. Last night, I attended the Benton Harbor Public Safety meeting, and one of the things that we talked about in earnest was the lack of police officers across the state. Our community, the state police were there giving a report. And one of the things I brought up was the culture that we live in today. That's going to be a thing that I talk about a lot. The culture that we live in, the filter bubbles, the political rhetoric, it leads to distrust in the health department. It leads to distrust in Black communities with police. And the way to start to rectify that is to get into the school system itself as well. I think we have to start having initiatives, programs to get directly into our youth and let them know that, you know, being a police officer isn't a bad thing. I shared an anecdotal story about a young man that I know who got caught up in trouble, and he was a beloved community member until the Facebook page leaked the fact that he had been working with police officers, and I saw his credibility and his name in the community drop down to nothing. And I think that is a failure on all of our parts to instill good values into our young people, because like it or not, we need police officers in our communities. We need people on the beat. We need to be safe and protected. It's about mending relationships between police and community. And it's also about making sure young people know that public service and trades are an option. You don't just have to go off to college and get massive student loan debt. There are other programs and there are other avenues of life where you can be successful and helpful to your community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Michael Hoy, 292 Bellevue in the city of Benton Harbor. And yes, Chokeway and Ray, that meeting last night was very powerful for the city of Benton Harbor. Thank you both for attending. I'm here as the official, unofficial ambassador for the Bering County Historical Association. Rihanna and I are working on an ambassador program, and it looks like I'm going to become the A ambassador for the Bering County Historical Association. On that, they are looking for calling to volunteers on Wednesday, January 19th. St. Joseph High School will have their constitution class, law class, be hosting their end of the year semester mock trial at the 1839 courthouse. They are looking for volunteers to serve on the jury. The trial will take place between approximately 9:45 and 11. The volunteers arriving about 9:30. They will provide coffee and donuts to the jurors who attend, coffee and donuts. Maybe we can get the sheriff over there for part of the jury. That'd be great. Okay. Those that are interested, you can go to their Facebook page. It's called the History Center at the Courthouse Square. And that's a really great program. And that's for the, again, Bering County Historical Association mock trial. Marcy, let me reintroduce myself, Michael Ahoy, City of Benton Harbor, Bering County Strong. Also, we have a thing called Benton Harbor Strong. We have a Benton Harbor Bike Club. Okay, we started 2 years ago because we know biking brings communities together. We know that biking can help also reduce in obesity, can help reduce in stress and things of that nature. So we have a Facebook page called the Benton Harbor Bike Club. As the president of the Benton Harbor Historical Preservation Society, we know how important Ox Creek is. Ox Creek is where Mr. Sorter was part of the Underground Railroad, which was at what was called Sorter Corners, which was Pipestone, Crystal, in Napier. That was Sorter Corners. So we know that Mr. Sorter with the Morton House, the Underground Railroad with the indigenous Indians here, used that as part of their Underground Railroad. So we've had those conversations about, we know what's going on with the whole area over there by the Whiteman's and Associates and all the Orchards Mall. So we know what's going on. So we'll be happy to bring those conversations together. We look forward to it. Also, the other department. Oh, I'm off. I'm sorry.
2 minutes, sir.
That's it. All right. Thank you so much. We'll talk more, Marcy.
Sorry, does anyone else wish to be heard? Yes, sir.
Hi, Ben Arzois. You guys are in talks about taking down the old hospital, Bering Springs, doing something with the juvenile center. Instead of moving the road department out of Eau Claire, I would suggest that possibly you move it onto that property out there. You got plenty of property to do it on. You got easy access down in and out of there. And it'd all be on the same side of the river. When it was allowed to close down all these satellite garages, I think that was a huge mistake. You did nothing but add seat time to the drivers to drive a truck and do nothing from point A to point B. If you go to Niles with the Auckland garage and you move the garage in Bertrand to Three Oaks, you're gonna be driving trucks through Niles or else on 31 to get back and forth. And I don't think it makes much sense to add mileage to seat time when you're trying to run a road department. Sitting in a truck driving in the summertime is no good to the roads. Everybody in this room that owns a car and gets on that road has concerns about the roads. It seems as though right now you're more concerned about the structures and this type of thing instead of the roads.
Thank you.
2 minutes.
I think we've run out of public comments. So we're going to go to other business. Does anyone have any of that? Hearing none, we'll go to announcements and reminders. We're closed Monday to commemorate the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King. We'll be back open for business Tuesday. And we will be back here at 8:35 next Thursday morning. If there's nothing else, we stand adjourned till then.